This is quite the predicament. It appears that the last upload on this channel was about a year ago. We would like to formally thank you for your patience and provide an update on the second season of the Adventures of Aipom web series. Where we last left off, the first season ended with a community event where viewers decided on the course of the story. The canonical ending of Season 1 was determined to be the To Grow ending. Season 2 is set to pick up shortly after the events of the previous season. There is a brief time skip. While the scope of Season 1 was reined in to about 10 episodes or so, the world of the Adventures of Aipom has expanded significantly, and as such, production has been slowed in an attempt to find the best way to continue and convey the story. The limitations of Xenoverse 2 became more apparent as things were limited to the mods created for the game by other creators. We couldn't quite get our exact vision out for new members of the cast or scenes we would have liked to convey, so there were two options we settled on. The first and least likely being a playable RPG project where the story of the first season and scenes we couldn't fit into the initial run could be experienced as a, downloadable RPG with consistent updates to content that covered the continuation of the story. The second and more feasible option would be a webcomic later to be converted into a voiced motion comic on this channel that you're receiving this update on. This version of the project relies on a consistent artist capable of emulating Toriyama's style, with a catch. Art is very time-consuming, and as such we wouldn't want to just bring someone onto the project and be unable to pay them. When there is enough funding to commission an artist to bring Season 2's story to life, you will all be the first to know. Of course, we could try and draw it in-house and just get something out to you, but we figured with how long you've all waited so far, waiting a little longer for us to make it as good as it can be can't hurt. All the same, if you've liked what we've done with how limited our resources were before, we hope you can hang in there for us. The project hasn't been scrapped. As a matter of fact, for patiently waiting, we can provide a story synopsis for the opening of Season 2. A tear between universes was formed thanks to wire lowering the spatial barrier around Kanton City and the explosion of a ship carrying unstable energy. This tear is known as the Rift. The Rift is an unnatural anomaly, slowly growing as parallel universes violently merge into each other in a physical space. The phenomenon has introduced a strange event, currently known as the Multiversal Split, wherein different events can happen at the same time, all parallel to each other, with equal probabilities of being the course that history will take. As the Rift exists now, it is completely possible for direct entry from Universes 6 and 8 into our home Universe 7, leading to attempts at communication from all sides and the threat of universally foreign entities for all versions of Kanton City. In other words, from the moment that the ship exploded and took Wire and the sleeping dragon with it, this rift changed the course of the story, and is the reason why there were multiple outcomes to Season 1, and the variations of Echo's rampage. We move along in the version of the universe where the To Grow ending is canon. Cable was able to distract Echo long enough for Aipom to make two wishes, those being to return Echo and Poton to their original bodies, and to revive everyone killed by Echo in Kanton City. These sets of wishes unfortunately have left the Dragon Balls in an inert state, so other pressing issues cannot be tended to right away. Our heroes move on from the first season and are primed to grow, with Aipom realizing that he needs to step up and take things seriously, and Cable realizing how much of an influence he can be on the people around him. This season was decidedly set up in a way that will introduce new characters who could have believably been around in the background. And as messed up as it is to say this, we have already predicted which characters will grow on you all, and have already decided which ones will die, much like with Udit. We will not spoil too much more of the story here, but to sweeten the deal we will informally introduce two very important characters that you will get to know much more intimately later. A string of crimes and unchecked violence out in space around Kanton and in linked parallel universes have only grown worse in the years since the Rift was formed. If you remember correctly, these problems were mentioned as early as episode 1 of the first season. The source of these incidents has been a background entity known as the Black Plague, a conglomerate of warriors led by a young woman named Lavlis. Their cult-like obedience to their leader and their modus operandi has linked them to strange ties with Lord Fridge. Perhaps their goal includes history's tyrant in some way or another. Only time will tell if their paths cross. In any event, we can probably end our transmission there, but you can expect character bios for the newest characters every week from now on to introduce you to the cast. And again, when the funding has been secured to hire an artist for this project, we can begin to roll out the actual continuation to you all. Thank you for your patience and support of the Adventures of Aipom project. I am definitely not an AI voice. I'm a real person. I'm speaking to you right now. Goodbye.